And joining us now with more on the latest developments in Gaza and the claims of famine and a humanitarian crisis is veteran Israeli journalist Ariel Kahana. Ariel, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Lidar. It's good to be with you again.
So we've seen massive international condemnation and pressure on Israel regarding the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Israel, of course, is denying these claims. So the first question I want to ask is there really a humanitarian crisis in Gaza?
So I guess there is at least a problem. You know, it's a war zone. I can tell you, Lida, I was last week myself in Gaza for about an hour. I joined the Israeli troops inside. I saw a lot of damage, a lot of fallen houses around me. I asked the soldiers, and they told me everything in every house we find it is either a bomb, either a gun, and so on. So it was used for terror, and Israel has no other choice than to destroy those places. And by the way, it's illegal according to international law. I didn't see Arabs who lives in Gaza. I didn't see Gazans, so I can't tell you, according to my eyes, what's going on with the food there. But I guess it's hard. We see the pictures. To me, I'm sure that some of the pictures are fake. There is propaganda going out from Gaza. You know, it's not a free place, Gaza. Hamas in the places it's controlled very strongly, and people over there know what they are allowed to show outside and what they are not allowed to show outside. Now again, I'm sure there is kind of problem, but what I do know as well, and I'm just now coming out from a meeting that someone updated me once again, is that actually what happened is that it was the UN, the United Nations, and its agencies who stopped delivering the food. As you may know, the IDF showed that the content of 900 trucks was not taken by the UN agencies during the last week from the cross-border to the population centers in Gaza.
So Israel has said that it has let in an unprecedented amount of aid into the Strip. As you mentioned, the UN refuses to deliver much of this aid. Hamas is stealing much of it, that we've seen. So what can or should be done? That's one question. And the other question is, the international pressure on Israel has been so intense that Prime Minister Netanyahu has agreed to temporary daily ceasefires to let in aid despite Israel having already let this aid in. Is this a massive hasbara or PR failure on Israel's part, that the world is simply not understanding the reality on the ground?
Well, unfortunately, it is, Lidar, because Israel, I would say, poorly explained what's really going on the ground in Gaza. The response was very little and very late. And I don't know why it is happening. I can tell you that in Hebrew, I more than once wrote about, as you said, the Hasbara problem. And actually, it's not Hasbara, it's just showing the truth, it's showing the facts. We are not doing it strongly enough. And from the other hand, what Hamas and the UN are doing is because they understand very well that the one who will spread the food, who will distribute the food in Gaza, will be the one who actually controls the population. That's why they are trying so hard to share that propaganda as if there is a problem in Gaza. You know, if you go back to prior to October 2023, you will see that Hamas, way before the war, said there is hunger in Gaza. And not only Hamas, the UN also said there is a problem of food, actually hunger. They use the word hunger in Gaza. So I can tell you, or I'm sure, that just as before the war there was no hunger in Gaza, I'm sure there is no hunger now in Gaza. Again, maybe there is a problem. It's a war zone, but I'm sure there is no hunger. I'm sure all of that is Hamas and pro-Hamas propaganda. And I want to tell you once again that inside Gaza, the United Nations organizations and Hamas are heavily connected one to each other. I saw in Gaza, in my own eyes, in a previous visit, I saw that underground, we had the Hamas main servers control underground, and UNRWA on the ground, and the electricity was connected from UNRWA on the ground to Hamas servers underground, to Hamas computers underground. It was connected one to each other. And that's how Hamas generally with the UN are connected inside Gaza. So once they understood, they may lose the control of spreading the food in Gaza. which means controlling the population, they began this campaign. And you're right, unfortunately, Israel, regarding the campaign, the propaganda campaign, the narrative campaign, unfortunately, Israel lost.
And now we heard President Trump say that Israel needs to decide what to do next. How do you interpret his statement, and what options are on the table for Benjamin Netanyahu now?
So, first of all, this evening, I mean, Monday evening, there's going to be another meeting of Netanyahu and his senior ministers to actually decide what are the coming steps for Israel to do. Because we have to recall, Lidar, that it's not only the humanitarian issue, it's also what's going on with the hostages. Because the negotiations in Qatar, as you know, actually failed last week. So Israel has now passed how to release the hostages. There is that humanitarian issue we discussed. And of course, there is a question, where is the war going to? So President Trump said he knows what he would have done. And I guess, as he said a few months ago, he said it's open hell over Gaza. I guess that's what Trump would do if he was the one to decide. But from Israelis' point of view, and especially from Prime Minister Netanyahu's point of view, all of that is much more complicated. So I can't tell you what Netanyahu is going to decide in the coming hours and days, because the issue, again, is very, very complicated, very sensitive. We have at least 20 alive hostages that we want to get them alive, and at least Netanyahu wants to do it by a deal. Hamas practically refuses to a deal. So how can we bring them back? It's a very painful question. I don't know what the answer is, but Israel is before very serious dilemmas, and the decisions will have to be made in the coming hours.
Absolutely, a lot of decisions to be made, and we, of course, will continue to follow. Ariel Kahana, thank you so much for your insights today.
Thank you very much.